Hi, welcome to Minutes with Mickey, a time for us to wonder about the story called Josiah's Reforms. This is the second half of the two-part stories that had to do with Josiah as the king of Judah. The wonderful thing about Josiah's reign was that he was a young man who loved and followed the Lord. There were a couple of things that I think that we need to take a look at in this story in order to tie it into the rest of history as well. We know that at this point, Judah is just about at the end of her reign in terms of being a kingdom, because when Josiah dies, the Lord says that he's going to then bring judgment on Judah and going to carry the people away into captivity, just as Israel had been taken some 80 years before. And in this story, we see King Josiah renews his commitment to the Lord. He renews the nation to follow the Lord. And as the king goes, so goes the nation, so go the people. And they are following the Lord deeply. But there's a reference here to a story that happened earlier in Judah's history that has to do with Jeroboam. And that was the prophet who came and said to Jeroboam, do not build these idols, do not build these altars in this area. And that prophet, when he died, he was buried and a monument was made to him. So when Josiah is in his business right now of trying to clear the land of all this evil that is there that had caused the people of Judah to go away from the Lord, now Josiah is destroying all these altars. And notice that in the story, it isn't just a little bit of destruction, like tear them down and put these pieces away. It is pulverizing, really making sure that it is to be completely gone, and the ashes are just spread out, and just really, I don't want any semblance of this evil around here. When he comes across the monument and hears the story of the old prophet and the prophecy that was made by that old prophet about a king who's going to come and destroy all these altars, he says to leave those bones alone and to let them be where they are. So I would like to challenge you to go back and say, now, where was that? Which was that in First Kings? Was that in First Chronicles? Go back and find it. Go back into the text and take a look. Where was that story about Jeroboam? And what exactly was that about? And about that particular prophet. I think it's worth going back and looking at it again. It says here that in the entire history of Judah, in this story, there had never been a king like Josiah, who loved and served the Lord with all his heart and his mind and his strength. And isn't that reminiscent of David, and who was, of course, King David? And we know that he was the one who wrote in the Psalms that this is what we should do, is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. And where is that repeated? In the New Testament. That's something to investigate. Take a look at that. But we also know that Jerusalem is meant to be destroyed. The Lord had it planned that this was going to happen because he knew the people would not continue to follow him. And we have this little story here that happens when Josiah was 39 years old. The Pharaoh comes up with an army and is going through his area, and even says to Josiah, don't bother with me. I'm not interested in you. I'm off to conquer some other territory. And yet Josiah goes along anyway. And you think, oh my goodness. And then he was killed. It makes me wonder about the times when we hear very clearly from the Lord, this is what I want you to do. Here's the way, walk ye in it. And yet we think to ourselves, oh, but just this once we'll do this thing. Just this one time I'll try to. And he even tried to disguise himself so he wouldn't be seen as the king of Judah. And yet an arrow, just a random arrow. Has that ever happened before in another story? Is there anything similar there that we need to be looking at? I would like to investigate that some more too. I know that when we take a look at these stories, one of the things that we like to do is wonder a little bit about what they might mean, not only historically, but for us today. As the king goes, so go the people. Building altars that have nothing to do with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob cause trouble. Following the Lord and the Lord only is the only thing that will serve us well, and that we should follow the Lord with our heart, with our soul, and our mind, with all of us. Our entire selves should follow him. And we should not look to the right or to the left, and not even figure out a way, maybe just this once we'll do this little thing, because God is going to have his way. And in the end, it will be the way the Lord has it. So what is this story saying to you? What do you hear God telling you as you hear this story? Have a great week.